Hello everybody, Phil here with Post Surf Blog, bringing you some epic surf news. I'm down here at SanO today, giving you an update on the road restoration and the work that's being done at the park. It's still in action right now. They said up at the booth today, the staff reported that the park is estimated to be open by Monday, so cars will be able to come down at that point. I asked them if there would be the same amount of parking or less, and they didn't have a statement for that part. So that's up in the air on that piece. But I did notice that some of the videos I saw recently showed that the rock abatement looked to have been extended. I'm sorry, the rock abutment there had been extended. And down here, I don't see that. So it looks like the rocks stop at the same spot right before the point. It looks like they have the drain pipe fixed here, at least under the road, and it's still exposed. I'm not sure, how they're going to cap that off. Up on the hillside there, the pipe is also still exposed. I don't know if they plan to cover that up or just leave it exposed. Going down the road here, south of the point and through Four Doors and up to Old Man's, a lot of that area has been washed away, and I don't see any new dirt there to expand it back to where it was prior. And I don't know if they have enough time to do that or if they're planning to do more work down the road. But with that said, I imagine that there probably is going to be a little less parking. But that will, we'll have to wait to see how that's going. So everybody, if you can get down here and get some surf in, even though it's kind of flat today, if you get a chance, this is your chance to get it before everybody comes back. If you're coming back in a car, well, looks like Monday might be the call for you, or sometime after that. So keep your ears open, keep your eyes peeled, and thanks for all the support, everybody. Have a good one, and look forward to seeing you soon. Okay, so good news. I get to add an amendment to the information I just gave you and actually bring more information to this update. I talked to two very important people here. I got to talk with Marcus. He's for lack of knowing his title, he's the chief dirt mover. And then I also got to talk with Scott. Again, for lack of title there, we're going to call him the chief engineer. But both these guys super instrumental in all the planning and implementation and work being done on the road and the park to get us all back over there and surfing. I think one of the main things that people are talking about or concerned about is the parking situation. So along, the whole road, or at least a good portion, I should say, from the point to Old Man's, a lot of that has been eroded, kind of along the road there. So we are definitely going to lose some parking there. They have switched some of that parking to parallel parking. And they are, as some people were hearing or hoping, they will be adding some parallel parking to the hillside of that same road as well. But again, that's going to be somewhat limited, as the goal is to have two-way traffic being able to go through that section. There definitely was, acknowledgement that at some point down the road, leaving it to weather, that more erosion will happen at that road, and we could see a time when that could be a yield type situation. So let's keep our fingers crossed it holds up for as long as it can, and that we can enjoy it the way it is. Outside of that, Marcus and Scott also inquired about my personal use of e-bikes and what I see in terms of the people visiting the park and how they're using the e-bikes. And with that was the parking conversation, the line conversation as well. So there's an acknowledgement that e-bikes are here. E-bikes are going to be part of the environment that we all are sharing in, and they're being adopted more and more. There was kind of some of the things that come along with that. I talked about the different kind of patterns that people use when they're in their cars for surfing, and how people adjust to the bikes and what new patterns come up out of that, and then the scenarios that come out of it. So they want to know, once the line is back up and running, the park is open at its fullest capacity, if I'll continue to use my e-bike. And I indicated I will. I definitely will use the e-bike when it's a big line. As you know, if you've been to SanO, that line can be an hour long, sometimes more, maybe a little less, but it depends. Really hard to tell. So I indicated that, I would use my bike, but when you're coming up the road that, you tend to look, you might be able to see how big the line is and then make the call at that point. There are a few other tools, for example, Surfline. And so I communicated about that. I communicated that, myself and several of my friends will coordinate, we'll look at Surfline. On the computer, Surfline has 5 different cams there. Two of them actually show kind of the booth area, a little bit of the line. And then one of those 2 cameras in particular shows a sandwich board, which sometimes there's some information there that you can glean from. It might talk about which lot is open, closed, if the park is closed, etc. So I talked to him about that, told him that's been a tool, although, the information is somewhat limited. And then I also explained that the app, in terms of mobile devices, doesn't seem to show those 2 other cams, even with a subscription to Surfline. So they told me that they were, had a good partnership with Surfline, and they wanted to look into that, and we're hoping that they might be able to enhance the type of information that you might get before coming to the park. So one possibility that they were floating was adding a pole, maybe in 2 different sections, somewhere between Four Doors and Old Man's on the hillside, that would kind of be, horizontal to the ground, right? And that would allow for maybe, let's say 20 e-bikes to be locked up or parked there to kind of alleviate some of the situations where e-bikes might, at this point, be taking up a parking spot. So that way they can be more efficient. People with e-bikes will have a particular place that they can utilize if they want, and maybe lock up your bike and so forth, right? So, and then it would be maybe away from the road a little bit, so that way, maybe the moisture and maybe splashing at certain parts of the park, won't affect your bike as much. Because obviously, if you go to San Onofre frequently, you know and are familiar with the erosion that can happen not only to the road, but to your vehicles and to your gear. So I thought that was a good idea. So I'm hoping they add that, but be prepared. It's going to take 1 or 2 spots from cars. So, right now everybody's trying to make the best decisions they can, kind of under a crunch time that they have. In terms of Four Doors or that area there between the Point and Old Man's, because a lot of that's eroded, I did ask the question, are you going to add more dirt now or down the road to try to regain some of that area? And the answer was no. It's not within the laws or guidelines that they have for any coastal type of development. So that is going to be the way it is. If anything, we'll probably see more erosion happening in that section over time. So let's try to preserve it, as best we can, whatever that means for patrons of the park. The other thing I asked about was shade. With less parking options, with more people on e-bikes, could they add some sort of shade structure, something similar to what they have at Old Man's? And the answer to that also was no, that actually involves a different group and set of rules and laws, which is more in the building department. So fortunately, that is not something that we can do at this point. And the structures that you see there currently, Old Man's, Dog Patch area, those were there for so long, they actually are grandfathered in from before I think even the park existed. So those things get to stay. And so in conclusion, I'd like to say a huge thanks to Marcus and Scott for all the work they've been doing and how fast they got the park restored, fixed, and ready for use again. Personally, I was thinking it might be somewhere closer to 6 months or a year based on, the type of situation they're working with. But they handled this in record time, and I guess, that's a good thing for most people. So thanks again to them, the state parks, and hopefully Surfline can, help them improve the line situation there. And everybody, hope to see you back on the beach.